Hey y'all, I am Hope here at Crafty Hope and welcome! I am working on days 46, 47, and 48 of Index Card a Day, which is known as ICAD. Is a challenge that runs each June and July from Tammy Smith, who you can find online at Daisy Yellow Art or as Gypsy999 on Instagram. I'll have her links below. Like I said, this challenge ran in June and July, and I am doing my best to catch it up. It's a 61-day challenge in which you take an index card, either a 3x5 or 4x6, and alter it. Now, to inspire you, Tammy offers up weekly themes and daily prompts. I don't usually bother with the themes, but the prompts I am very much interested in, especially just as a jumping off point. Sometimes I use them, sometimes I don't. In addition to Tammy's prompts, my friend Nina Fickett has a list of mixed media prompts to further inspire you. I will have Nina and Tammy's links for you in the description box below if you want to find out more about either of these. So on this day was day 46, like I said, and the prompts were calm and tape. So I'm going to work both of those in. So I started with a simple collage. I took a bit of dictionary paper that I had altered with, it looks like distress inks. I'm not sure. I've had that around forever. And for calm, I decided to do what I find to be a very calming activity, and that is to do some neurographic doodling. So as you can see, I drew some wiggly, unique lines from each side of my card with a Sharpie. And I'm actually using several different sizes of Sharpie, the what's called the fine line marker, and then the ultra fine. So this and basically where your lines intersect, you curve those angles. So that's what I did. There are lots of other information out there. If you'll search neurographic doodling, you will find lots of information about it. But I find it to be super calming. But for the sake of this video, in which I'm showing 3 cards, excuse me, I'm keeping it very simple. So I curved my intersecting lines, cleaned them up with a fine liner, and then inked the edges of my card with some distress ink in black soot. From there, I decided to accent this with what I consider a very calming color, and that's the Deco Arts Americana sea glass paint. You can see this is kind of a greeny blue. I love this paint, y'all. And I went back and forth about whether or not to add this. I've clipped out where I pulled it into the frame and took it out and then brought it back in. But I thought it would be a nice way to have a place for your eye to kind of rest, add in a different color in there, and to isolate some of those inner things. Now, as a kid, I don't know, did y'all ever do this? It was kind of like this neurographic doodling where you just do like a scribble, and then on the inside of each of the scribbles, you color a different color. It's definitely an activity I did as a kid that I really enjoyed, especially if I didn't know what to create, but I needed to have something to do with my hands. I distinctly remember doing that activity. So I think this neurographic doodling reminds me of that a lot. I was being a bit persnickety about which of these inner shapes I wanted to paint with my acrylic paint. You can see I'm thinking about it long and hard. I didn't want too many of them like touching or being like butt up next to each other or anything. And so I didn't want to cover the card with this color, but I definitely wanted to add in that calming blue-green color. The beach is my favorite place, and this sea glass color definitely reminds me of that. So I think this may be one of the last places. I have several other videos in which I do neurographic doodling, and so I encourage you to either go find it here or, like I said, I am not the best resource for it. It's definitely just something I discovered a couple years ago during ICAD and kind of fell in love with, and it's something I haven't done in ages, and every once in a while I get a hankering for it. So all right, I am doing a bit of a second coat in some of these areas where it wasn't, I don't know, the color isn't consistent. And then I am going to go back over some of the lines with my Sharpie and clean them up. So where the paint like overlaps some of the lines and those lines look super messy. Yep. Just going back over them with the Sharpie, cleaning them up. Again, this is such a calming activity for me because it's not something you don't have to be like super exact with this. It's really just a doodle and kind of mindless, and it gives you a chance to like just focus on what your hands are doing and not being, I don't know. I mean, I say you don't have to be exact, but at the same time, it gives you an opportunity to focus on that exactness without wanting to create something realistic or, I don't know. I just love it. So, from there, I decided to break up that bit of green in there a little bit with some additional doodling. Again, this will help enhance the bit of things that are inside those shapes that I didn't paint. So I'm just doing some straight lines in each of them. Doodles for me, I love. This is a shape I love. I don't know what it is. Lately, I've been thinking that maybe I've got an obsession with mushrooms. If you check out my Instagram, you will see I am absolutely obsessed with mushrooms, but I think this feels a bit like the gills under a mushroom, and maybe that, but also just the motion of drawing these straight lines. Just, yeah, it's simple, it's easy. Again, with the neurographic doodling, to me, it's kind of a mindless, keep your hands busy, but still focus, and I feel the same way about these lines. So everything about this was super calming for me. And I appreciate that Tammy gave us that prompt because I probably wouldn't have done this card otherwise. So I am finishing up the last of these doodles on here, and then I am going to, what am I going to do? I'm going to bring in a little bit more of that distress ink just to where I'd painted to make sure some of that was also distressed. Next, I'm going to bring in the tape prompt from Nina. I pulled out a nonstick craft sheet and I'm using masking tape. And I'm going to tear it down. I do love torn edges, so I'm going to do what I can to create a piece that doesn't have any straight edges on. I'm having trouble, you see, just making a mess. And I'm going to stick it straight onto my craft sheet. You look at me, I'm trying to decide how big I want it. And what I think would work on my card. So I'm going to stick it on my nonstick craft sheet and pull out that ultra fine Sharpie. Again, and write the words keep calm on there, which seemed perfect for this simplicity. I do have 2 pieces there, so yeah, I'm going to write that, and then I'll add a little bit, especially where I did the print as opposed to the cursive writing, darken up a little bit of it. And then I will stick it onto my card. I think I am anyway. And I'll clean up my desk real quick and come back in. It takes me a minute. I always roll up my nonstick craft sheet. From there, I'm going to bring in it's a little bucket of different accent things that I've been using. I think I used it on my snippet roll and other things. And I found this piece of off-white rickrack that, I don't know, just gave a feminine touch to this, and I don't know. So I'm going to use it. I think I'm just going to put some Oohoo down on the bottom of it, stick it down, and I will be done with card number 46. I will give you a quick look at it, but there'll be additional pictures at the end of this video, and then we'll get to card 47 in just a second. The prompts for card number 47 are intertwine and headband from a book. So did I just show y'all that I've got the headband for a book pulled out. It's a piece of the top of the spine from a book, and I've recently torn down a bunch of books, so I was able to find that pretty quickly in my stash. So, but intertwine, as I said on my Instagram post, intertwine just means to combine one thing with another, and I'm gonna do that here at the end for like part of my focal. But I'm starting this card with I pulled out some different collage materials from my scrap bin and then was like, you know what, let me put something on the background first. So I've got some acrylic paint. I am not even sure what color that is. I am sorry, y'all. It's, yeah, just a little tube of paint. I needed something. I do love my blues. Threw that on there real quick and we'll try this, I think, super quick. Yep. And then come back in and start collaging. So last time I used my Oohoo glue stick to stick my paper down. This time I am using a fluid matte medium and it's a cosmetic mask spreader that is silicone, and so it works great for peeling things up later. And I'm going to use different pieces. I've got some old survey maps and what else? Dictionary paper and parts from an artist almanac. And there's a doily, which is just going to barely peek through. And I think that doily may be part of the reason that I painted the back of that, because I was like, well, if I put this doily down, parts of it are going to show through. So I need something on there. And then I've got some coffee paper and I don't even know, y'all, more artist almanac maybe. I can't even tell you. So just getting that all down, and then I will dry it and trim it up. So this one surprised me. I will tell you that the steps that I took and how it turned out absolutely surprised me, but I really love this one. It turns out super grungy, which of course I love, but I really kept it super simple. So I grabbed a bit more of that same paint. I wish I could tell you what color it is. I'll have to go look and see if I still even have that. And I will put it in the description box, at least the name of the color if you're interested. And I start by doing some mark making over on one side of it. It felt like it just needed that over there. I don't know. That side is already so busy that I'm not sure exactly why I put the marks there, but where I add this color in other places, I'm going to like blend it out on the card. I'm not gonna put the marks. I'm thinking that maybe because that color showed through so much in that doily, that in that upper right section, that lower left section needed more structured parts of that color. Maybe, yeah. I'm not sure, but like I said, in other areas of this card, I'm just kind of getting that color in there so it's a bit more consistent throughout the card. It just felt like what this needed. And then I'm even going to just bring my finger in to help blend out some of this and more of this, like adding a little bit of it and blending it. And it's not something I usually do, but it really did a great job of faintly putting that color in. Yeah, I'm kind of going crazy with it. When I looked at this card to do the editing for the pictures, I actually thought maybe I'd use some kind of spray on it because that color was or even an ink, because it was so evenly distributed. But no, I just watered down some acrylic paint. From there, I decided to pull in some texture paste and a stencil, and I'm putting it on there with a silicone like brush thing. It's not really a brush, it's like a spreader. The texture paste is a homemade textures paste that I make with plaster of Paris and gesso and like spackle or whatever I have on hand. I love that to dry so that it would harden up, and then I'm going to come in with, I've got my headband along with another piece of a book spine, and I thought maybe I would intertwine these, basically, like I said, combining one thing with another and bring in a button. So that was my idea for intertwine. But first I wanted to work on this card a little bit more. It needed some black. It needed something dark on there. So I have grabbed a Sharpie paint pen And I, as you saw, primed it until the color started coming out. And I'm slinging it right at the card. This is one of my favorite ways to add splatter, but honestly, y'all, that splatter in any case is going to get everywhere. So I know that black splatter was all over everything. You can see some of it on my finger, I think. And of course, I will dry that and come in. This is some Distress Stain from Tim Holtz. It's not a product you can find anymore as far as I'm aware of. I had some, and it's something I hardly ever use because I forget about it. So I decided to use it. I am not sure what color that is. Probably walnut stain by the looks of it. I do love me some walnut stain. And I'm going around little parts of it just to add that bit of aging on the edges and bring in some brown. Normally I'd use my coffee, but for some reason this felt right. And you can see I added a little bit of some to a piece of acetate and then splattered it on the card to have a few darker bits. And then I'm going to ink the edges with it. Yeah. And I did not water that down. And then because I added so much water, of course, I'm going to dry it. So here I am bringing in that bit of the headband from the book. And you can see the headband there. I haven't done a lot of research. I actually asked Nina, who gave the prompt. I was like, is this what it is? And she was like, yeah, that's the headband. And it's got like almost like a bit of twine across the top of it and then some like thicker canvas on it. I believe it's a product you can buy if you're book binding, but when I bind books, I'm just throwing things together. So I tied up a little bit of some thread that was on my desk, put it on the needle, tied a knot, and now I am going to stitch these pieces together. Those pieces are so thick. Did you see there that I had to put the back of the needle on my desk and like press up to get it through? Yeah, use what you got, guys. So I'm going to stitch this. I had to do it again. Yeah, that's all very thick. I'm sure that needle is nice and dull now. So I am going to do 2 stitches in this real quick just to make sure it's nice and secure, since I am not using any other kind of adhesion binding method. I don't know I'm not using any other way to stick them together. So, yeah. So I'm going to tie a quick knot in here, and that is going to be like the backer for, and I say my focal, I'm actually going to have 2 pieces on here, but this to me felt like the main one. And I kept trying to put this in that lower left corner, but then I realized that it was really this upper right that felt so bald, I suppose, that just felt so open and that it needed something. So once I put that there, I was like, well, I feel like I need something else. So I sorted through a box I have of what I consider focals for a while and found this little set of mushrooms. It's from the Tim Holtz ephemera pack. I think it's called Botanicals. I think. Or no, it's called Field Notes. I think it's called Field Notes. The Botanicals are a bit more shiny, whereas the Field Notes are more matte. So, I inked up that mushroom and grabbed some foam stickers because I wanted this mushroom to kind of have a little height to it, because that bit of the book spine scraps also have height to them. So from there I found a word. This is from the Big Talk or Big Chat stickers from Tim Holtz. I found the word explore. I am going to add a little bit of some ooh-hoo to stick it on to those spine bits. I think I might have to add something more, but I'm not sure. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I'm going to use my Fabri-Tac actually, because there's so much texture on those spine bits that the ooh-hoo it needed something extra. So I'm using the Fabri-Tac to stick those spine bits down, trying to get as much as I can on there, because there was a lot of texture, y'all. So much texture that I wasn't sure exactly which parts of it were going to make a connection. So put a ton of that Fabri-Tac on there, stuck it down, put the Fabri-Tac on the on my little word, and then I will peel off the backs of my that foam tape and stick it down to finish this. I might ink the edges again. I'm not sure. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to bring in a Stabilo all pencil and add some shadow to a couple of the areas, just because again this isn't super dark and it feels like, despite the fact that those items are lifted, they needed a bit more lift. So I add some Stabilo all and a wet paintbrush to give them that shadow. And that'll finish up this fun little card. So much grunge and yumminess. I love this one. All right, I'm going to give you again a quick look at it and we'll get to the next card. The last card in this video is going to be card number 48, and the prompts for it were disco and corrugated cardboard. Now, y'all, the disco prompt absolutely baffled me. I was like, I have no idea. Other than you doing a like disco ball, I could not come up with an idea for disco. So I was like, okay, well, I know I can do corrugated cardboard. That's easy enough. Let's just get started and we'll see if somehow I can get disco in here. Spoiler, no. There's, unless I could do a stretch and say I got disco in there, but not really. No. So I'm starting again with some collage using my fluid matte medium and a variety again of other materials. I think I've got, oh, I thought that was a piece of artist almanac. It's not. It's some scrapbook paper. And I'm sorry I'm off screen. Yeah, I zoom out because I kept working towards the bottom of my desk and that wasn't on screen. So matte paper, dictionary paper, scrapbook paper, just whatever I could find. That's some more of that scrap paper. And sticking down all of this. I didn't spend a whole lot of time futzing with this. I really feel like looking at this card and looking at the process I used when I did this, I really think I was just in a playful mood. Like, throw the things you like at this and see what happens. And y'all, I love the previous two cards that I did, but this one, I really love it. So yeah, once I get everything stuck down, of course I'm going to dry it real quick and then trim it. So I dry it because cutting around where that wet glue is has really wreaked havoc on my scissors. Those scissors in particular, I think they're just Dollar Tree scissors, but yeah, I keep cutting wet things with them and it's not great. No. So the edges that didn't stick, you can see I'm coming in with my glue stick and sticking them back down. And yeah, from there I'm tapping my fingers, not sure what I'm going to do. I've got some paint here. No, I cannot even tell what paint that is. I think it looks like maybe it's a silver, but it could be a gray. Yeah, it looks like it's a gray, like a nice solid neutral gray that I'm going to start by putting some marks on it. And yeah, you can see those marks kind of go awry. Now I'm just adding crazy amounts of paint all over it. I was trying to I think make the background feel a little more cohesive. So I'm going to end up taking my brayer and moving all that paint around with it. Yeah, it just, I don't know. I think, yeah, I can see where the edges are that I'm covering up, and that's where a lot of the one paper kind of joins with another paper, and I was trying to make that all feel good. And look, I made just a muddy mess here. A super muddy mess. So then I grabbed some Distress Oxide spray, probably walnut stain. And I'm, going to grab a little bit of water, spray with my Distress sprayer, and move that around a bit. Just letting it kind of pool in areas, and once I get it where I think, okay, that's pretty good, I'm gonna use, you can see what I'm doing. I'm doing a little bit of splatter, picking up a little bit of it. There we go. A little more watery paintbrush worked wonders there. And I'm going to try it just as it is. So from there, I pulled out this what is that, holly green paint that, and I don't know what I could see a little bit of green in the background from the scrapbook paper I used, and I think that was what I was feeling, and I was like, okay, let's go ahead and just put it in this palette and see what I can do with it. I watered it down a bit, and y'all, I'm gonna do a little bit of splatter, and it's such an inconsequential thing when it comes down to it, that how much I fretted over adding this green. I don't know what I thought I was going to do with this green, but yeah, I pulled it out and I'm getting the tiniest little splatters on here. It's nothing. I don't even think you can see it on the camera. And you have to look pretty hard at the photos to actually see that green, but it's there. I don't know why I did it, but it's there. I am adding a bit more water to that, trying to activate that distress oxide spray that's on there, and then I'm going to pick that water up. And can you see how that made just the smallest little bit of difference? It was really kind of cool. And that's what I love about the distress products. It's a blessing and a curse that you can continue to work with those for a while. The fact that they reactivate over and over and over again, it can be a problem, but sometimes it's kind of neat to just be like, well, how far can I push this? How much can I do? Okay, next I pulled out some crackle paste and they are foil flakes from Dollar Tree. You could use gold foil or something more impressive, but I kind of wanted to see what these would do. So yeah, and I'm just using my Ooh glue stick. I'm going to put a little bit of tackiness on my card in a couple spots. I think I am anyway. Yeah, the foiling process in general is super messy, so I've put a bit of paper under this so I can pick it up and dispose of all those flaky flakes, because they get everywhere. So you can see that it's on my fingers. It's fine. So I'm going to burnish some of this down with my yeah, I'm a mess, y'all. Burnish this down with my fingers a little bit, go over a couple more places. You can see I'm picking up some of the excess from areas and moving around, and I love this effect. I don't know why I don't use this more often. I really should, because and y'all, I think those foil flakes, they might be $1, but I think they also at Christmas time have bigger containers of them. At least they did last Christmas, in different colors. Like there was a silver and a gold and maybe a copper one that they had for like $3. Since Christmas, I've only seen these smaller ones for $1. I think that's right, if I'm remembering correctly. And there are products out there you can use with better, and you can get other foil flakes at the craft store that are like actual gold foil. But for this ICAD, it wasn't necessary. So once I got all those little sections down and I gave them just a second to dry, I'm coming over them with a pretty stiff brush, and I'm trying not to brush it all off, but I do want it to just be like a hint of color. And this is, like I said, if I really wanted to say I brought disco in, this pop of gold could be my disco. As disco era was pretty gold and tacky. So next I'm using my crackle paste. I think you noticed that I originally pulled out my Ranger Distress crackle paste, and when I opened it, I found that was dry. I've gotten more since then, but instead I'm using this Deco Arts crackle paste, and yeah, it's a beautiful crackle paste as well. And for some reason I decided I'm going to use two separate I know what reason. Because that distress oxide reactivates, I'm using two separate palette knives. One to just kind of put the crackle paste down, and the other to spread it out, so that if that second palette knife picks up any of that distress oxide, I'm not putting it back in the container that I have my crackle paint in. So I left it for a little while to crackle. It's really hard to see it here. The crackles in the Deco Arts are a little more subtle and flat, whereas I found with the Distress ones, they have a bit more texture because, yeah, it's just how those two work. I encourage you to get some different crackles and try them. And I think Nina Fickett has a video on comparing crackle pastes. In fact, that's where I got that Deco Arts one. Is she sent that to me. I am using a technique I learned from Tiffany Goff Smith, in which you use a blending stump and what is that, charcoal pencil to help accent the lines in the crackle, and it just, yeah, it lets them pop a little bit more, get some of that charcoal down between the cracks so that you could see it a little bit more. And I love that technique. It's fabulous. So here's my corrugated cardboard that I decided to use per Nina's prompt. And you can see I've just torn out a little strip of it and pulled out some Tim Holtz paper dolls. And I want the paper dolls, there's so many ones that sit in the packs or lean on something, that I thought the strip of cardboard would be the perfect surface to have that, because often it's, otherwise you've got to find something for those characters to lean or stand or sit on. And so this corrugated cardboard was the perfect opportunity to use them. I picked out this cute little couple that are sitting side by side, and I wanted to give a little bit of definition to the cardboard. So I found this bit of fabric. It looks like it's one of my Dollar Tree tea towels that I've altered somehow and torn, and so it's frayed, and that fraying I'm just gonna have peeking out the bottom of that cardboard. Like I said, I wanted just a touch of definition along it so that the brown of that cardboard doesn't blend straight into all the browns on the card. So I used my glue stick to stick that on there, and I'm, trying to decide what to do with my couple. And while I do, I'm inking the edges of the card with more of that Black Soot Distress ink. I think I'm probably looking for my ink, because there's not quite enough on that sponge pad. So I'm going to frame up this card with that, give it a little bit of shadow and life, and then come back to my couple. Actually, I think I'm going to, no, maybe not yet. Okay, since I have the gold on the card, is that what I'm looking for? I'm not sure what I'm looking for, y'all. Oh, no, I I was looking for my other ink blender, which has walnut stain distress ink on it, so I could ink my cardboard and my little couple and give them more of a vintage feel. And I've got this little applicator here that lets me get in between those little nooks and crannies that, especially these die cuts have so many little pieces, sometimes it's hard to get with those big ink blenders. So I've got this little one that's going to help me define this. So as you can tell, this card definitely took me a bit longer than those first two. And I told you at the start of this one that I really just felt like playing and doing those things that I enjoy doing, which, I've added the crackle and I've added a sparkle, and I'm looking at them and I think I'm going to add a bit more of a sparkle here. Oh, y'all, I can't remember what order I did all these things. I threw so much at this couple that, it's hard for me to remember exactly what I did. So I did pull out my Fabri-Tac to stick the couple on the cardboard, simply because the paper of those the paper dolls is kind of thick, so I wanted to go ahead and stick them on there so I knew what their orientation was. I also pulled out these metallic stickers from Tim Holtz, and I'm going to add the Fabri-Tac to it, and it has the word smitten on it, which I don't know, this couple just are too cute. The smiles they have on their faces definitely makes you feel like they're happy to be together. So, and once I had all of those elements on my bit of cardboard, I'm going to come in and add a bit of gold to this cardboard piece with some gold embroidery floss. This is some DMC floss. It's like dynamite or something, or I don't know. Anyway, I'm sewing on a few French knots on here, which is, and I just explain this all the time. You go up through your material, then you wrap the end of it that's closest around your needle, and you go back in through your material in a slightly different spot so that it forms this little knot. And it was a great way to add in that extra space that was on the corrugated cardboard. It was a great way to add like some 3D extra elements. This thread I love because it is so shiny, or there's some floss, but I will warn you that it frays super easy, so it's often hard to get into the eye of your needle. So once you get it in there, once I get it in there, I tend to try to hold it as tightly as I can right at that eye so it doesn't slip out, and then I have to cut it down or try to redo it. It's, it and I will fight. All right, so this is my last one here. I put 5 on the right side of them because there was all that room, but I also made sure I put 1 over on the left just to be fair, so that we've got some of that awesome gold all the way across. And I'm going to tie this off real quick. I might even add a little bit of tape to it. Maybe not, because I knew I was going to, yeah, no, I've got that Fabri-Tac, so I'm going to put the Fabri-Tac right on it immediately. And go over all the different, go over the back, make sure I hit some of that thread on there so it is stuck as well. That Fabri-Tac had been sitting up, so it's gonna give me fits because it started to go back into the bottle. So that's why I like that little upside down thing. That works so great. So I think I'm done with the Fabri-Tac now. So I'm gonna stick, no, I don't think I'm completely done with the Fabri-Tac yet, but I have stuck them on, and I don't know, I was feeling really happy about them. But then I was like, wouldn't it be more awesome if they had wings? So I pulled out the Tim Holtz transparent wings and found a couple of these little dragonfly ones that would fit behind them nicely. But I wanted them to be gold. So I turned them over and I tried to color them with a Sharpie paint pen, but that wiped off pretty easily. And it hit me like today before I did this voiceover that what I should have tried was actually a gold Sharpie marker. that probably would have worked beautifully. So you can see that's wiping off really quickly. So I end up grabbing a little bit of gold craft paint. This is the Delta Creamcoat craft paint, and I'm painting the back of it. I barely give it any chance to dry, so as I'm putting it on, the gold is like coming off a little bit. But it has that hint of gold shimmer that is all I really need. And I did consider putting 2 wings on each of them, but first I couldn't find 4 wings that would match because they've gotten lost in my stash. And also, what's going on there? So I'm dropping it and trying to make it, yeah. So but also it just felt like it was going to be too fiddly to try to get it behind them and have all, where their shoulders meet, have all that going on. So I just decided that their wings are kind of tucked, both of them on one side. Getting them back there since they were already adhered to the page was a bit fiddly. I had to use a toothpick there to kind of get behind it and make that contact. So I'm using the Fabri-Tac to stick the wings on. And once I get those on, that's it for this card, y'all. It was a bit of a getting there, but everything about it makes me happy. Fairies and cardboard and French knots and gold and crackle and all the happies. So I am going to give you looks at all 3 of these cards. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up so other people can find it as well. And let me know if you have any questions. I would be happy to answer those for you. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, and I will see y'all later with more art and craft and ramblings. Thanks for watching. Bye.